Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to the General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, July 23rd, Drew Cain will face some unpleasant turmoil in the near future. Dante Falconeri will also receive some frightening news, and Sonny will seek out Rocco Falconeri to reveal something. So here's what GH fans should expect. Anna Devane has been searching for evidence in the Ross Cullum shooting case, but Dante has disposed of everything to protect Rocco. Of course, Anna is unaware that Dante is responsible, but Laura Collins may think that it is just a matter of time until she discovers this. Look for Laura to confront Dante about the cover-up and warn him about the impending storm. At the police station, Anna decides to put Harrison Chase to the test in more ways than one. Chase must establish his trustworthiness, and Anna may promise him a return to detective rank if he succeeds. Anna may assign Chase the responsibility of assisting her in her search for answers regarding the missing Cullum proof. If everything goes as planned, Chase may be able to prove his allegiance and prepare for his detective test. Next, Sonny will interrupt Rocco when he is working as a Metro Court pool attendant. Rocco will pause to talk with Sonny, who may reveal that he is aware of his grandson's shooter secret. Sonny may point out that Rocco could have contacted him immediately away, and vow that he is always eager to assist when Rocco is in over his head. Willow Cain will reject Nina Reeves' unnerving Drew proposal at the Quartermain boathouse. Nina will believe that the situation necessitates urgent measures, while Willow will be reluctant to kill Drew or take any drastic action. Unfortunately, Nina will go too far, and it appears like she may force Drew into the lake. Drew will demonstrate his ability to communicate while being wheeled to the water for Scout Quartermain's forthcoming swim practice, thus Nina could be the reason he tumbles and splashes below. Meanwhile, Michael Corinthos will meet with Alexis Davis, which may result in some Willow discussion and a request for legal advice. Michael appears to be seizing control of Maxie Jones' deception shares, which will add to the office hatred that is about to erupt. Tracy Quartermain will argue with Lucy Coe over Maxie, and her suspicions that Lucy is exploiting James West's current despair, but Michael's surprise will shift the corporate game. General Hospital spoilers claim Michael will make a significant announcement soon, so stay tuned. CDL will have more amazing General Hospital spoilers and news for you, so make us your primary GH source. Drew Cain's eyes fluttered up in the low light of the Quartermain boathouse, his body still heavy from the medicines that had kept him locked up for months. The horrific ordeal was not over. He could sense a tiny return of control in his limbs, but every movement sent waves of panic through him. Willow Tate, his wife, hovered nearby with Nina Reeves, their whispers carrying a sense of desperation that chilled him more than the chilly lake breeze floating through the open doors. Drew's thoughts raced with fragmentary recollections of the gunshot, treachery, and loneliness. He had been a pawn in their scheme, silenced to safeguard their secrets and goals. Willow's voice broke through the tension as she faced her mother. "We will control Drew without taking drastic action," she insisted, her tone solid but tinged with the guilt of a woman who had shot her husband in the back and then used medication to keep him docile. Nina, ever the schemer, paced restlessly, her crimson empire and familial ties driving her to bolder options. Drew listened, pretending weakness, but inside he was furious. This was his family, or what remained of them following the scandals and power battles that characterized life in Port Charles. The Quartermain lineage weighed heavy, coupled with his own tangled past as a victim of numerous betrayals. As the day progressed, Drew's illness became the focal point of a terrifying confrontation. Nina, pushed to her limits by her fear of exposure, wheeled him closer to the lake in the name of fresh air for Scout's approaching swim practice. "What's wrong, Nina?" "Bad news," Drew managed to stammer, his voice scratchy but audible for the first time in what seemed like an eternity. The words surprised both women. Nina's eyes widened in dread as her plan to eradicate the threat grew out of hand. In a moment of fear, she pushed the wheelchair too close to the edge. Drew fell into the water with a splash, the chilly shock jolting his body back into full consciousness. He struggled, limbs flailing as survival instincts kicked in, the horrifying situation intensifying as he fought not only the water, but also the understanding of how far his own wife and mother-in-law would go. Rescue arrived quickly with close voices shouting alarms. Drew was gasping and sputtering as Michael Corinthos and others rushed to remove him from the lake. But he was alive and determined as ever. The encounter left him shocked, and his mind was clear for the first time in months. He silently determined to restore his life, his political goals, and possibly pursue justice against those who had mistreated him. The Quartermaine estate reverberated with the aftermath, Tracy Quartermaine yelling accusations at everyone in sight, while Willow retreated into damage management, her boundaries with Nina fraying under the weight of their shared misdeeds. Across town, Dante Falconeri was dealing with his own tempest of difficulty. Meeting with Mayor Laura Collins in her office, Dante readied himself for the dreaded update. Laura's expression was grim as she announced the news. "I'm sorry to say that's going to end today," she told him, referring to the tenuous security surrounding the Cullum shooting case. Dante had gone to tremendous efforts to erase evidence and protect his son Rocco from the fallout of that tragic night. Ross Cullum's killing created ripple consequences that threatened to consume the Falconeri family. Anna Devane, now influential at the PCPD, was closing in, her pursuit of justice unwavering. Dante's devotion to his kid conflicted with his responsibilities as a cop. He had diligently hidden footprints, but the lack of proof sparked doubts. Anna, seeing contradictions, tasked Chase with investigating more. "I need to know that I can trust you," she said the detective, her gaze searching for any indication of conflicting allegiances. Chase, divided between friendship with Dante and his own ambitions for advancement, nodded hesitantly. The inquiry ramped up, with potential charges looming for not only Rocco but also Dante as an accessory after the fact. Laura informed Dante that the walls were closing in, and urged him to prepare Lulu and the family for the consequences. Dante repeated the events in his mind, the fear when Rocco pulled the gun in self-defense or desperation, and the cover-up motivated by paternal love. With Anna's dedication and external pressures from figures such as Jack Brennan, Dante found himself in serious jeopardy. A furious confrontation with Chase put their partnership to the test, and old friendships were stretched by the weight of secrets. Dante understood that one incorrect act might ruin his life, his career, and his shot at stability with Lulu. Yet, as a father, he remained steadfast. Rocco's safety was first, even if it meant facing consequences that could land him back in prison or worse. Meanwhile, at the Metro Court pool, Sonny Corinthos approached his grandson Rocco while working as a pool attendant. The sun glistened off the water, providing a dramatic contrast to the serious conversation ahead. "Can you take a break for a bit? It's important," Sonny urged, his voice gravelly and authoritative, as if he had established an empire on loyalty and protection. Rocco, still reeling from the previous events, cleaned his hands and followed his grandfather to a quieter spot. Sonny picked this time to reveal the truth about Rocco's role in the Cullum shooting, which he had discovered from Lulu. "I know what happened that night," Sonny admitted, his gaze fixed on the young man before him. Rocco froze as the weight of his secret came crushing down. Sonny did not pass judgment. Rather, he gave the knowledge of experience. "You could have come to me right away. Family doesn't face these things alone. I'm always willing to help when you're in over your head." The conversation grew long, with Sonny drawing on his own history of violence, cover-ups, and survival in Port Charles's underworld. He offered resources, legal assistance as needed, and unwavering support. Rocco, overwhelmed by shame and anxiety, spoke openly about the terror of that night, the split-second decision that changed everything. In a rare moment of weakness, grandfather and grandson bonded, with Sonny's mafia heart softening at the sight of the kid navigating risks passed down via his ancestry. This emotional encounter saved Rocco from the impending storm. Sonny, ever the fixer, began strategizing behind the scenes, reaching out to contacts, analyzing threats from Anna's research, and ensuring the Falconeri family was protected. His own problems with Sidwell and Valentine lingered, but family came first. The revelation of secrets deepened their bond, reminding Rocco that, while Port Charles required constant care, he was not alone. The interwoven tragedies of July 23 reverberated throughout Port Charles, incorporating personal experiences into a wider tapestry of alliances and betrayals. Drew's near drowning and awakening set off a firestorm at the Quartermaines. Willow and Nina struggled to control the damage, their mother-daughter relationship taxed as Drew sought answers and threatened exposure. Michael stepped in as a mediator, his intricate links to both sides causing friction. Tracy, never one to avoid strife, accused others of neglect, sparking mansion-wide debates. Drew's terrible encounter converted him from victim to vengeance, with his political expertise now geared at restoring power and possibly custody or control over Scout. Dante's troubles worsened as Anna prodded Chase for collaboration. The investigator struggled with his conscience, eventually choosing transparency, which strained but did not terminate his friendship with Dante. Laura handled mayoral duties while supporting her daughter Lulu, who combined her concern for Rocco with a drive to protect her family. Whispers of allegations against the young guy spread, forcing Dante into defensive measures that put his badge and freedom at risk. Sonny's conversation with Rocco became a glimmer of hope. The mob boss's involvement added further levels of protection, potentially interfering with official inquiries, but giving the street-savvy direction Rocco required. Lulu and Dante found temporary solace in Sonny's partnership, but conflicts with Anna and outsider characters like Brennan kept everyone on edge. Throughout the day, little threads intermingled. At Deception, Lucy Coe faced accusations from Tracy about financial dealings involving James, showing the harsh world of corporate intrigue. Trina Robinson faced an obsessive danger, and her friends and family were concerned for her safety. Carly Corinthos, while juggling her intricate connections, overheard surprising discoveries that tied into the larger catastrophe. Drew recovered in a hospital bed as twilight fell, his mind clearer than ever about his next steps. The ordeal had torn away illusions, showing both the depths of betrayal and his own strength. Dante met with Lulu, sharing Laura's warning and preparing for combat. Sonny, meantime, strengthened relationships with Rocco, promising a future in which the boy's faults would not define him. Port Charles never slept soundly. Drew's survival and awakening foreshadowed revenge and redemption stories. Dante's misfortune highlighted the cost of parental love in a community of secrets. Sonny's confession to Rocco emphasized themes of legacy, forgiveness, and enduring family bonds. The events of July 23 paved the way for furious clashes, shifting alliances, and passionate reconciliations in the coming weeks. In the calm aftermath, the characters thought on their decisions. Willow struggled with the monster she had transformed to safeguard her world, as Nina doubled down on plans while fearing loss. Dante pondered how far he would go for his son, while Chase weighed duty against friendship. Sonny's remarks gave Rocco strength, and he was ready to confront examination with renewed determination. The sun sank over the lake where Drew had nearly perished, signifying both danger and rebirth. The inmates of General Hospital continued their restless dance of love, power, and survival, with each ordeal strengthening or breaking the relationships that characterized them. Drew's voice, once silent, suddenly resonated with purpose. Dante's difficulties tested his limits. Sonny's instruction provided a way forward. Every day at Port Charles offered new shocks, but the human spirit remained dramatic and unwavering. Thursday began with an uncomfortable silence over Port Charles, as if the entire city was aware that something major was about to occur. Families went about their daily routines, businesses opened their doors, and General Hospital ran as usual, but tensions were rising under the surface. By the end of the day, several people's lives had been altered by unexpected revelations, frightening confrontations, and irreversible decisions. Drew awoke before sunrise, convinced that someone was watching him. He had spent the previous few days looking over his shoulder, after receiving a series of anonymous communications ordering him to quit investigating a financial scheme linked to several powerful persons. Most people would have ignored the threats as intimidation, but Drew had learned from experience that ignoring danger only made it worse. He checked his phone once more. A further message had arrived overnight. "You've been warned. Walk away while you still can." There was no sender information, just an encrypted number that vanished seconds after the letter was opened. Drew sighed and put the phone in his pocket. Whoever was making the threats wanted him scared, but he refused to back down. Meanwhile, across town, Dante Falconeri went to the Port Charles Police Department expecting a routine day. Instead, Anna Devane waited outside his office with a solemn expression. Dante spotted the stack of paperwork in her hands and said, "We've got a problem." "What happened?" Anna entered and shut the door. "Internal Affairs has questions about the evidence from the recent warehouse investigation." Dante scowled. What kind of questions? They believe procedures were not followed correctly. Dante looked at her with surprise. You've got to be kidding. I wish I was. The inquiry was already hard enough, but now Internal Affairs wanted to look over every report, interview, and physical evidence gathered during the operation. If they believe protocol was violated, Anna explained, they will investigate every officer involved. Dante reclined back in his chair. So we're now under investigation. There is no signal. Someone had meticulously planned this. Back at the PCPD, Dante's circumstances deteriorated even further. Internal Affairs investigators interviewed him for nearly 2 hours. Each report, each witness statement, each procedural decision. One investigator leaned forwards. Did you knowingly allow unauthorized individuals access to evidence? No. Did anyone influence your investigation? No. Can you explain why several timestamps don't match? Dante appeared puzzled. What are the timestamps? The investigator said, sliding printed records across the table. Dante quickly noticed the mismatch. A digital logging issue resulted in evidence being logged 30 minutes after it was actually processed. Normally, such an error may be simply fixed. Today it appeared suspicious. Anna waited outside the interview room. She recognized how harmful administrative probes might be. Even innocent cops have found themselves ensnared in bureaucratic nightmares. At General Hospital, Sonny finally resumed his chat with Rocco. I've spent years trying to protect this family. Rocco nodded. I know. But protection sometimes comes with secrets. What kind of secrets? Sonny hesitated. The kind that makes people dangerous. He addressed his grandson squarely. Some of the enemies you've heard about weren't after me. Rocco frowned. They were after all of us. The realization astounded him. You mean? They knew that hurting my family would hurt me. Rocco finally understood why Sonny had always insisted on what appeared to be exorbitant security measures. I thought you were just being overprotective. I wish that had been the reason. The talk became even more emotional as Sonny acknowledged that many difficult decisions over the years had been prompted by the fear of losing the ones he cared about the most. I've carried guilt for a long time. You don't have to explain everything. I do. They're not accusing me of misconduct. That's good. But they're not clearing me either. Anna sighed. So we're in limbo. They're broadening the investigation. Dante glanced toward the evidence room. If this goes on for too long, every case we've worked on could be called into question. This horrified both cops. Not because they feared punishment. Victims deserve justice without procedural obstacles. Meanwhile, Carly Spencer received an unexpected telephone call. Drew never showed up. She scowled. What do you mean? He was supposed to check in an hour ago. Carly could sense problems. Drew always maintained his word. If he missed a scheduled call, something was awry. She contacted Jason within minutes. Jason just asked one question. I think he's in danger. Where was he going? Locked. He pounded his shoulder against the metal door repeatedly. Nothing. The flames underneath him continued to spread. Jason arrived outside the abandoned building in Port Charles just as smoke began to pour out of many smashed windows. His expression stiffened immediately. Before sprinting toward the entryway, he dialed 911. Firefighters hadn't yet arrived. Every second mattered. I've lost friends as a result of decisions I made. Rocco listened closely. I've almost lost family too. You didn't. I came close. He followed the sound through falling passageways until he found Drew stuck beneath fallen steel beams. Duck! A chunk of the ceiling fell between them. Jason soon discovered another route. Using all of his might, he lifted one twisted beam just enough to allow Drew to crawl underneath. We have to move. The smoke thickened quickly. Visibility faded. They stumbled for a back exit just as firefighters came outside. Moments later, both men emerged, coughing but alive. Carly arrived at the scene seconds later. Relief flooded across her cheeks. Drew was struggling to recover his breath as he asked, "What happened?" "It wasn't an accident." Jason agreed. "Someone set us up." Fire investigators quickly discovered various sources of origin throughout the building. The fire had been deliberately caused. Anna got the report very quickly. Her concerns grew. If someone attempted to kill Drew, it was most likely related to the investigation he was conducting. Pieces from numerous seemingly unrelated situations suddenly began to come together. Dante joined her. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" She nodded. "The attacks, the threats, the missing records. They're connected. But by whom?" Neither had an explanation. Drew made an official statement at the police station later that evening. He explained the anonymous messages, the mysterious encounter. The doors were locked. The voices. The fire. Everything indicated deliberate preparation. Anna vowed to explore every detail. "We will find out who did this," Drew said, skeptical. "They're always one step ahead." Not forever. Across town, Dante arrived home after one of the longest days of his career. He set his badge on the kitchen counter and stared at it for a few minutes. The probe looming over him jeopardized everything he had worked for. His reputation. His career. He is confident. Despite the ambiguity, he stayed determined to discover the truth. Meanwhile, Sonny walked Rocco out of the hospital. The night air seemed cooler now. More peaceful. Before they parted ways, Sonny reassured his grandson by placing a hand on his shoulder. "No more carrying your fears by yourself." Rocco agreed. "I won't. And if someone ever threatens you, I tell my family." Exactly. As they hugged, they realized that honesty had become their best safety. Jason also analyzed evidence collected from the burning structure. Among the damaged debris, investigators located one object that had survived the fire, a half-melted flash drive lying beneath a loose floorboard. Nobody knew what information it carried. However, Jason feared that someone was willing to commit murder in order to keep those files hidden. As midnight fell in Port Charles, Drew recovered from his terrifying ordeal. Dante faced mounting professional problems that threatened his future, and Sonny's poignant chat with Rocco strengthened connections that had been challenged by fear and secrets. Yet, behind the surface, a deeper scheme was unfolding. The attempted murder, the probe into police operations, and the concealed information buried inside that burnt structure all pointed to an enemy who remained in the shadows, calmly plotting his next move in a perilous game that was far from ended.